Thanks for joining me, everyone. I'm excited to have a conversation with Diamondo and hear more about Greece and the retreat she offers there and what life-changing we might occur just by joining her. So, welcome.
Thank you.
So, tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind having the retreats in Greece.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. I am Greek. My name is Diamond in Greek. And so I am half Greek and half Irish. And on St. Patrick's Day, my mother likes to remind me of the Irish half, but that's about it. The rest of it is like full on Greek. So I grew up going to Greece every summer almost when I was younger. Yeah, I was very fortunate. Um, and I always was one of those people who was like one foot here, one foot there, and felt this pull to see the world in general, which I'm sure you can relate with.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And so after college, I moved to Greece for a little while, and I thought that was going to be my life. And circumstances brought me back to the States, and that wasn't my life. And then I started this career path and was working in corporate restaurants and doing all these things until I was 30. And then I was like, I don't know what's happening in my life at all. I don't know if I want kids. I don't know if I want to be married. I don't know where I want to live. I don't know what my career path is meant to be. I was like lost. So I took myself to Greece in November
Oh, wow.
of 2012, which is I had been once in the winter when I was 2 years old, and I came home with hypothermia, and my mother made my father swear never to take me there in the winter again.
So
So
it
it
does
was
it
like
must get really cold there then.
it can, although I will say this past December I was there for a retreat and we were picking olives in 70-degree weather with tank tops in December. So
Oh,
climate
wow.
change. Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, for the good part in this case, not in other cases. But yeah, so I was there in 2012 and totally lost, and I thought, let me go pick olives. And so I called a cousin, and he was like, "What?" And he like basically laughed me off the phone.
Oh, no.
And I felt pretty like disheartened, but I've always been this strong Spartan warrior type. And so I called another cousin, and he basically did the same thing. He laughed at me. He was like, "You're a woman, you're from America. What do you know about farming? Like, but sure, if you really want to come, fine." And so I did. I went. And as soon as I started harvesting olives, it was like I had almost an out of body experience, but also the most in my body I had ever been. And I thought, I need other people to feel this.
Right.
Um, so that's how it started. Of course, again, I was 30, so I was young and dumb, and I totally misinterpreted that message, ended up starting an olive oil business. Like it was not the message I was meant to receive, but now now I'm like, oh yeah, the actual message was let's let people get out of their heads, like all of this spinning around and get into their bodies so that there's more freedom for flow and unexpected adventure and experiences in this deeply rooted place of tradition, like one of the oldest civilizations on the planet. Like there is so much
Oh, yeah.
ancestry.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say next is I think sometimes we do travel places and we almost feel like we could have been there before. And that I think is totally possible. I mean, I think as kids, as we grow up, we're taught to like not listen to our guts, not listen to that inner voice. We're kind of, at least in the United States, maybe more so a little bit like, oh, that's silly. Whereas a lot of that is the instinct that keeps us out of danger, but also the instinct that could draw us to our true happiness and true balance.
Yeah, and there's actually an ancient Greek word, it's nostos, and it's the root word for nostalgia. And it literally means this pull that is deeper than you and deeper than your subconscious that is drawing you to an experience or place that's meant for you. And that word, that emotion is like, we are all one race, one human being.
Yeah.
Like we are one person, right? Like we all come from the same genesis. Whatever you want to believe about religion, spirituality, we are all from the same place. So it doesn't matter whether you're Greek or Irish or German or whatever, finding roots can happen anywhere.
So after the olive oil business, that's when you kind of birthed this whole retreat and helping others tap into their true, true paths. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, it wasn't immediately after. I did the olive oil business for like 4 years, lost a ton of money, had to work 3 jobs simultaneously to pay it all off.
Oh no.
But it was a wonderful learning experience. I know what to do and what not to do in business. Like I learned a lot. And I got sucked back into the race of life, like relationship, job, 401k. This is what you're supposed to do. Society tells you this. Let's just keep going, 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 going. And inside, I was like, oh God, I want to get out. I want to get out. I want to get out. How do I get out? And then March of 2020 happened. And that was like, well, we're going to throw you out.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
okay.
I think for a lot of us, yeah, it's like it was a hard stop. You got to change. You got to
Yeah.
shift. Got to figure it out. But
Yes. And it was like the wheel was spinning and then all of a sudden I was like cast out of it. So that was for me the biggest gift that I could have been given because I was begging for it but didn't know how to do it. Um, and that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to host these retreats that I've been talking about for 10 years.
right.
And so I planned one for October of 2020 thinking like this is going to
Yeah.
this is going to end soon. Like it can't last that long. And it obviously didn't. We all know what happened. And in the meantime, I worked on developing myself as an entrepreneur, as a coach. My business shifted and pivoted. I now am an intuitive business coach. So it's like part life coach, part business coach with all of the tech and systems built in. And the retreats are a part of that. So my one-on-one clients get a retreat included
Oh
in working
wow.
with me. And retreat participants get 2 hours of one-on-one time with me before and after the retreat to like go over their goals for what they want to achieve while they're there. And then afterwards to integrate their experience into their daily life. Um, so yeah,
So do you have some retreats coming up?
I do. I have one in August, which is right around the corner.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, it's crazy. And it is focused on relationships, kind of deepening communication by exploring divine masculine and feminine, but it's really not as woo-woo as I make it sound. Like we do a traditional wheat harvest with horses. We're going to do some ceramics on the beach. We're going to have some farm to table dinners, yoga and mindfulness every day, but appropriate for all ages. We do have a love and relationship coach who's one of our teachers, but it's really about exploring relationship dynamics, even within business partners, with couples, with the way you interpersonally connect with your friends and colleagues. So it's about that. And that's August 17th through the 24th. My dad and I were just on the phone talking about the horses and the wheat right now. We're super excited about that because we've been doing that for 10 years and it's
Oh,
a
okay.
father-daughter thing and we have a stone circle on our property and the horses trample the wheat and
Oh,
all of the
wow.
like old women throw the wheat up into the air and the wind separates the wheat from the chaff and it is just it's really magical.
It
Um,
sounds
and
like it.
yeah. So we're taking it a step further this year, and we're actually going to take the wheat to a stone mill about an hour away, turn it into flour, and then we're going to have cooking workshops with the flour that we harvested. So,
Oh, wow.
uh, yeah. So that's August. And then November is our olive harvest. which is really focused on the energy of the trees, the energy of the land, embodiment practices, and learning how to make olive oil. And picking olives and cooking with olive oil and all things olive.
So do you fly into the same location for both of them, or do they kind of based out of different locations?
They are based in Sparta. My business is Go Live Spartan Business and Go Live Spartan Experiences. That's where I'm from. Uh, for me, the Spartan community is not the modern community, but the ancient Spartans. There's also, we all know the 300, like we know the warrior mentality, 300 warriors don't, and the wives said, don't come back unless you're a winner. Otherwise, I want to see your head on your shield. Simultaneously, there was such a strong community, and the first female entrepreneurs in Greece, the first female potters and artisans in Greece, the first barter system in Greece. So,
Wow.
if you're looking at it from that sort of like anything that someone might want to tap into exists in the area around Sparta. Of course, that exists everywhere, but since I'm from there and I know the people, it is easier. And that's where we're currently based. It's just 2 hours south of Athens. And people don't think of the Peloponnese when they go to Greece. They think of the islands and they think of
Right, I
Athens.
was just gonna say that. Yeah, most of the time we hear so much and we see the pictures of the blue water and the white buildings, but yeah, we don't often think of the rest of Greece.
Yeah. And the Peloponnese has that blue water. Like if you look at a list of the top 10 beaches in Greece, three of them are in the Peloponnese. So Greece is a peninsula. Anywhere you go in Greece, you have mountains and you have beach. So we spend a lot of time in the mountains, but we also spend time by the water. And that is that whole synthesis is really important. But yeah, for now we're in Sparta. We're hoping to expand in the future. But honestly, I've been to Sparta now 42 times, and every time I go, I see something in the areas around that I have never seen before. And there
Really?
are
Oh, wow.
constantly people telling me, like, you need to go to this secret waterfall, or like this cave is a place that you need to explore, or like I'm like, where have all these things been? Sure, take me, I'll go.
Right, right. Yeah. You're like, I've been here. Yeah, that's amazing that you've been there so many times and there's still things to uncover and
Yeah,
unlayer, unpack. Wow.
yeah.
So is there significance to, I imagine for November, it's because that's harvest time, and
Mhm.
August the same for the wheat. Is that kind of just traditional for that time period, or is there some other significance?
Yeah, it is usually actually earlier. A traditional wheat harvest would happen in like June or July, but it's all weather dependent. Like everything, Greece is such a weird, not weird, but like if it rains, everything will get pushed back a couple of months.
Okay.
And August, specifically this year, we decided to do it that late in August because we wanted families to have the opportunity to go on vacation and be a part of this. So the intention originally was like, if you, the mother or father, wants to participate in this retreat, we also will help you find a babysitter and activities for your children while you're in workshops. And there are a few workshops within the experience that are kid friendly.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's a family friendly opportunity, though we haven't had any families sign up for this one. It's skewing older. And our November one is also skewing older, like way older, like people in their 70s are
Oh,
interested,
wow.
which
Interesting.
I am very excited about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so who knows? We'll see what happens.
Do you feel like in Greece there's a different view of older individuals, particularly older women? Because you know how it is in the United States, we're trying so hard to change that, mentality of, oh, once you're past 35, 40, you just kind of past your whole. Is that something that's different in the mindset of Greece, would you say a little bit, maybe?
So I don't know how to answer this. I think the value of women as teachers, nurturers, protectors is something that's intrinsically built into Greek society. Um, However, there is also a lot of misogyny in traditional Greek culture. It's not that different from the US. Uh, and but like you see the women continuing to work while the older men are like, let's play cards and
Yeah.
have some beers at the cafe. And it it is, at least for me, um, seeing these older women who are performing tasks that I could not do is really inspirational. Um,
Well, that's
and the men,
true.
of course, do it too. But I'm like, you're 80 and you are. There was a 95-year-old woman at one of our wheat harvests, and she was literally like throwing the rake up in the air, and 95 years old.
95. That's amazing. Like you said, that is inspiring. Just your strength and your stamina and your
Yeah.
will to keep at it. I mean, that is amazing.
Yeah, and I would like to think it comes from that place that we're talking about it, rather than like, I if I don't do this, I have no value. And I do
Right.
think it is a desire to hold on to tradition and to teach. Something that's so important in Greek culture is this storytelling aspect and like sharing of cultural experiences, and specifically the women gathering together. Like, I remember when I was a kid, we would make this traditional pasta, and it's called hilopitis. It's like a Greek fettuccine. And everyone in the village would make their family's batch, but the women would travel from house to house and help each other. So it was a
Oh,
communal
nice.
activity. You did one house, and when that was finished, you went on to the next house, and everyone worked together. um,
That's
and that,
amazing. That's kind of really beautiful. And you're right, that ties into the whole having good relationships, which is
yes,
something I really think got impacted during COVID. As we know, we really, and especially for, teens, kids in school, well, all of us, to be honest, you just all of a sudden kind of felt cut off, and it was really
yeah,
abrupt. I see it definitely in my niece who's a teenager. It's like it just kind of forced her to be alone and harder to reach out. And hopefully
yeah.
we can
And
open
even
those.
harder to connect with yourself sometimes during that. Like, when you feel cut off, you are cut off from you and others. Um, so yes, this is actively in reflection on that, right? And I love, like, when I think about 75-year-old women who might want to attend, and like 20-year-old women who want to attend, I can't, or men, and I
Yeah,
can't wait to get them all in the same room,
right.
because some of my best memories are learning from 80-year-old people. Like, I will never forget those experiences. Um, and that is what I'm trying to cultivate and bring to people, is like, we can all learn from each other, and we learn about ourselves through communicating better and deeper with nature, with our community, just the universal energy. Like, we are all connected.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that whole community thing though of like you said, people physically like, okay, we're gonna make this here and then we're going to the next house. I mean, we just don't see that as much in some of our cities where we
Yeah.
even know our neighbors. We can live next door to somebody and we don't even know their name, unfortunately. So this, hopefully encourages people to open up those channels of communication once they return from your retreat.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I lived in New York City for the last 18 years. I maybe like knew two of my neighbors. Once I started spending more time in these types of experiences, now I find myself saying hello to strangers on the street when I pass by them, and like visually connecting and desiring that
Right.
acknowledgement that we're here together. And I do think that's a direct reflection of my experiences over
Oh,
in Greece and all of that.
Yeah, I would definitely think so because you view your past experiences too, like how much you learn from your relatives or cousins or older women in that community or men too, that now
Yeah.
you view people as, people with stories. I know I always think that when I go into a market, if I just start chatting with the person at the, just today because they're working at the cash register, who knows what their life really is all about or what
Yeah.
wisdom they may impart by just whatever they may say to me that day. It's kind of like a,
Yeah. And following that impulse to actually connect, like, even if that person doesn't think they have any sort of wisdom to impart, we are all going to view things through our own lens. We're going to get the messages that we need to get. It is really just about like put it out there and be open
right.
to receiving it. And so all I'm doing, and it is a lot, I don't want to say all to diminish it, but I am creating environments where it's easier to do that. And if that in turn helps people feel more at ease and more adventurous about their path and more curious, like tapping into that spirit of the inner child and seeing the world from a place of curiosity and wonder. Um, I have seen it work with people who have attended the retreats. I see it work with my one-on-one clients. I can't wait to keep bringing that to more people.
Yeah, I think that's fabulous. So tell us a little bit more about the details, like what kinds of places do the participants stay in? Do they have free time as such, or is it pretty much you have it all set up for them? And
Yeah, good questions. It is very curated, but it is curated to the retreat guests' needs. So the way that I design things is kind of like, um, have you been on a cruise? I think you said that you have not been
no,
on a
I've never
cruise.
been on a cruise.
Okay. So there are two types of cruises. One is you go on a cruise and you dock every single day and you're up at 7 a.m. and you have to be back on the boat at 3 p.m. Then you party all night and then you do it all over again. Those are exhausting.
Yes.
You see a lot, but it's exhausting. And there's another type of cruise that's like, okay, you spend a day at sea, maybe you have like a second day at sea, then you dock somewhere, you spend the entire day there, you get back on the boat, you have a day at sea, and then you spend an entire day of activities. So that is more the way that I plan these retreats. So there is an activity every single day, but we kind of do this up and down
Yeah.
arc of heavy lifting, whether it be mentally or physically, and then more restful. Um, so people do have throughout the course of the week, they get an hour-long massage, they get an hour-long Reiki session. We have 3 meals a day provided. The dinner is like a communal dinner where we all go out and try a different restaurant. There are excursions built in, so we're seeing things outside of the normal area. There's daily yoga classes. All of it is optional. I've never had anyone not opt into all of it, but it is all optional. We do some artistic things, like we have a woman who teaches us how to make mosaic, and so
Oh,
we usually
wow.
include one of her workshops. Um, but there's time for journaling, there's time for reflection, there's time to explore, there's time for napping. And also, we recommend to people like you're with us for 7 days, 7 nights. Greece needs to be experienced for longer than that. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
have people we collaborate with to help you plan your pre-retreat experience and your post-retreat experience so that when you're with us, we're holding you and helping you get what you want. And also, we are going to help you find that when you're not with us, because it really is important to, if you're going to go into a retreat container,
Yeah.
it's important to be rested for that and prepared for that, and like, or to know what your travel style is, right? Like maybe
Yeah.
you're the type of person who's like, I'm going to see Athens and do all the museums for 2 days and then I'm going to go to the retreat. So we help people plan that. And then when they're with us, they do the workshops and everyone wants to attend them because they're fun, but they are, it's like you get a full day journey and then you get a day that's like, let's chill and maybe make some mosaic and walk
Yeah.
around and have a meal.
That's beautiful, though. I think there's a lot there because then people hopefully take more from the experience. Because I think, there is, when we're, well, when we're young or we have limited time, sometimes we do try to pack everything in. But honestly, when you come back, then you're scratching your head like, what did I see? Where did I go? You've kind of lost some of it because it's almost been it's been like overload. It's like too much.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's generally my travel style. I will fully admit that. Like, I have had stopovers in countries for like 9 hours, and I will see, like, I'll do like two walking tours and go to a
Yeah.
museum, and I'm just like, let me see it all. So, and I did that for the first retreat that we held in person. I overpacked it, and I could see that luckily all the people who came were basically fresh off of breakups, so they needed
Oh,
the distraction.
right.
It just happened to be that way. But it was a valuable lesson for me in terms of like, we don't need to pack it that much. In fact, like, I want people to come back. Like, I
Yeah,
don't want
exactly.
to everything.
You don't
Like,
want to give
come
away
back more than
all,
once.
right, exactly. You don't want to give away every amazing thing to do or taste or eat.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would
exactly.
say Greece is probably, I've never been yet, so it just seems like such an amazing country to go explore and take in both visually and just all the history that's there.
I am certainly biased, but it is beautiful. And like, whether you're a nature lover, an art lover, a historian into archaeology, a food lover, like, it's literally the country that ticks all of those boxes, which is what makes it great for groups, because there's something that's going to appeal to everyone. Um, and yeah, I love it, and especially the food. Like, I can't. The food
Yeah.
is amazing.
Well, the food has become even synonymous with, what they call the blue zone. Some of the oldest living individuals, don't they say, follow the Greek diet and live in
Yeah,
those pockets. So
yeah,
that may say a lot too. Another reason to join you on retreat and maybe change your habits or, your practices.
yeah, for sure. And there's an island in northern Greece that really is one of the five places in the world that has the oldest population. And I would love to go there. I've never been. It's Ikaria. So I was going to say something, but I'm not sure what your audience is, but they are also known to have a lot of sex on that island. So
Oh, okay. Well, hey,
yeah,
there's
I don't
nothing wrong
know.
with that, there's got to be something to that. It's keeping them living longer and being happy. So,
Yeah, I would like to think there's a nice connection to experiencing pleasure and joy and having that extend your life. Um,
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
so we can bring that into wherever we are. We don't need to be on an island in northern Greece.
Right. Is it an island that you can visit? Because I know certain islands in the world are kind of private and you're not, allowed to go
Yeah.
there as such. But
Yeah, I don't know. You can definitely go there. I don't know the statistics on Greece. There are like 800 islands in Greece,
oh my
and
gosh.
it's a tiny country, right? Like, but
Yeah.
it has a lot of islands. I think like 60 of them are habited. I'm totally making that up, but there
Yeah,
are a
no,
lot
I have
of
no
islands
idea.
that people live on, and culturally they're all kind of different. So it's really interesting to explore the country. Like, I love that I have Sparta as my home base and that there's tons of stuff to see there, but I do try to get to a different part of Greece. Like, there are shifts in the food, there's
Oh,
shift
really?
in the music and the dance, the dialects are slightly different. Like, it's for a tiny country, there's a lot of Greek ethnic diversity.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's interesting. Do you think that's because of the landscape with the mountains and just how,
Yeah.
kind of
Yes.
kept these little pockets here and there and
Yeah, also Greeks are exceptionally proud of their origin down to like the villages. Even in my area, there are
oh, okay.
two villages up on a mountain outside of like, here's Sparta, here's another town, and there are two villages. These two villages used to be hugely heavily populated, and then World War II happened, the Turkish occupation, and like all of that, people started migrating down. within this now central village, everyone will very clearly tell you, I'm from this side of the mountain or I'm from this side of the mountain.
That is
Like,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
like,
the Greeks are,
we have a little of a bit of that that kind of sticks, I think, in the United States for some people. You know, there's unfortunately, you know, every country we had the Civil War, and you know, I know when I moved to the South, it was like an immediate like, well, you're not from these parts. You know, there was definitely still these deep roots that just run deep with people. But yeah,
yeah.
that's interesting that they're so close too, and just
And they're the same people. Like it's all, they live in the same town and have for generations now, but they still know where they came from. And I do think that that's a little bit different than the United States in that they're like really proud of their lineage, but also really proud of the community that they formed together. Um, it, they care a lot about history.
yeah, that's interesting. It was so wonderful too that they want and that they want to pass on the
Yeah.
ways, the traditions, and keep that alive.
Yeah. I mean, my dad is built writing a book about our lineage going back 400 years. So it's certainly something that I'm interested in because I have no choice.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing though. A lot of people don't even really know, you know, past maybe when their, you know, family came to the United States, and that's been fairly, you know, within the last couple hundred years for some of them. But to go back
Yeah.
400 years, that's incredible.
Yeah, well, it's all my dad is the one who came to the United States. So all of his 400-year history is in Greece. And it's definitely interesting because there has been a lot of political unrest in Greece with the Ottoman Empire and then communist revolution and then the Greek Civil War, and there's a lot of modern history in all of Europe and all of the world, right? Once
Right.
it's just wars happen and political unrest happens, but it's interesting to see how that affects communities um, and families.
Yeah, exactly. So if someone was coming to Greece before your retreat, where would you suggest they spend extra time? I know that you mentioned Athens a little bit. Do you have other places they might want to?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I mentioned Athens because as much as like I'm not a huge fan of the city atmosphere, um, you do like you can't go to Greece and not see the Acropolis. Like you have to do that.
Right.
And and there are a lot of other public spaces now in Athens. The Niarchos Foundation has made this beautiful external park in Athens where it really is like, I don't know, 20 acres of green space with
Oh, wow.
activities and events and a museum and the public library and the opera are there. There's a ton of theater in Athens. So definitely, I recommend Athens, but only for a couple of days. People can get sucked into that pull. And if you're going to go somewhere like Greece, like see the things, see the things that you care about. So if somebody is into the woo-woo side and the spirituality, right outside of Athens is Delphi, and you can go there and see where the oracle was and experience that energetically. If you're into religion and history in that sense, I went up to Matera, which is toward northern Greece, and it is a city of rocks that these monks built monasteries on the tops of these mountains.
Wow.
And it is beautiful, just like geologically, it's crazy to look at. And there are still 7 functioning monasteries there as well. So if
Wow.
that interests you, that's a place. And you can do that as a day trip from Athens if Athens is your base. There are a ton of smaller islands right outside of Athens that are great. Hydra is known for where people go sponge diving. And
Hmm.
if people are from Florida, Tarpon Springs, if you're familiar with Tarpon Springs and sponge diving there, all of those people are from Hydra in Greece, and they started the
Oh,
Greek community in Florida and brought over the sponge diving tradition.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I would say like unless you're an Instagram influencer, don't bother going to Mykonos and Santorini. There are better islands that you can experience the same types of things for a quarter of the price, and you won't be inundated with a bunch of people taking selfies all of the
Right.
time. So, but again, it depends on what a person desires, which is why I recommend know yourself and know what you want from a travel experience and talk to someone who can give you recommendations for you rather than recommendations for Joe
Right.
Schmo.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important is know what your reason, what your why is, why you want to
Yeah.
go and a little bit further than just checking off the top. Like you said, there's probably a few top sites that you want to say you saw, but beyond
Yeah.
that, explore and enjoy.
Yeah. Explore. Like if you want to eat your way through Greece, then I have 100 restaurant recommendations I could give to somebody. Like it really depends. Like you want to do the best museums, great. You want to do the best hiking, you're going to go to different places. You want green topography, great. You want because Greece is like there's green, there's desert, there's Mediterranean Sea, like there's all of it. So you can get whatever you want there. You just need to know what you want.
Right. Great. Well, this has been amazing, Diamondo. Do you want to tell people where they can find you on your website or reach out to you directly in case they want to sign up or
Yeah.
inquire about even making their trip to Greece, whether they're going with you or going on their own?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always happy to talk to anyone, even if it's not so that they come to my retreat. I have plenty of people I can put people in touch with to create the best travel experience. So I can be reached at ask@golivespartan.com. So very simple, golivespartan.com, ask at. And that is also my retreat Instagram is Go Live Spartan Experiences. People can find me on Facebook, Diamondo Stratakos, and my website is golivespartan.com. So it's all, if you remember to go live the Spartan lifestyle, then people will find me.
Great. And we'll put that all in the show notes too. But this has been amazing. So thank you so much for your time today and look forward to hearing more about this as you create more retreats possibly in the future too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.